Welcome back to Fantasy Hoops. Today, 4 must-draft players for your fantasy basketball drafts. I'm sure coming up this week. Johnny just broke the news to me that Kyrie Irving's not going to be playing this year.
No, the Nets have had enough of his shit. They said, if you're not going to be able to play in every game, please get the hell out of our team. Just sit your ass down. Don't play for us.
Honestly, probably a good call.
Yeah.
I would not know how the dynamic... Well, I mean, the dynamic is already something as it is just with those guys, but to deal with someone coming to road games only would be ridiculous.
If they get to the playoffs though and he can't play, that's you're turning that team that's supposed to be a dynasty into 0 rings, gonna have no playoff wins, just nothing.
Right. What do you do you think he would change his mind at the end of the year if if they finish first in the East?
If he changes, you know what? If he changes his mind, that's like just the amount of conspiracy theories he believes.
Yeah, just the Earth being flat.
That'd be insane to me that he just goes like, oh yeah, like he thinks that like this, like the devil's trying to connect everybody to a supercomputer or something. If he goes, well, my team's sick now, so connect me, like just put that chip in me. That's got to be the biggest. If he has to get a chip put in him to win the chip,
yeah,
that's the biggest flip flop of all time.
Yeah, be a desperate. I don't know how desperate he is. He seems like a guy that's not desperate at all for any of that kind of stuff. Before we get into the must draft players, be sure to check out the Lawnmower 4.0 for Manscaped. Promo code BOX, 20% off, free worldwide shipping. The best in male grooming. So go to manscaped.com and check them out. Why don't you start? I got my notes here. We're gonna read from our notes. We're getting some good analysis, but I'll let you start.
All right. So on the topic of Kyrie Irving, I got down Joe Harris. So he's listed usually as a shooting guard, small forward, plays the wing. It's an ADP of 136.2, average of round 12. I think that's going to probably start to go up a little bit now that the news with Kyrie's out. But even before that, I think most people kind of knew he was going to get extended runs this year. He was going to play a ton of games anyways, a ton of big minutes. Yeah. He's probably not going to get beat out by Patty Mills. So I think it's just a situation for him this year. It's just looking really good. I think he's just always been a low-key type of guy. The last couple of rounds of the draft, he's always a guy you're looking at as just a bench rotation player. Yeah. You know he's going to have those games. He's going to go off. This year, I'm looking at him as a guy. He's going to be really good on threes. He's going to be really good on boards. He's going to be really good for his efficiency. Yes. And I think he's got big 20-point upside, which might be a lot for him. That'd be a career high. Yeah. But if he's getting these big runs, he's going to get that. He could be hitting 4 threes a game. He could be getting 5 boards a game. He's just a guy this year with so much upside, great utility player. He's durable, doesn't get injured. He just seems like such a safe pick normally. And this year, I think just, the moon's the ceiling for him this year.
I think you're definitely right because, like you said, being durable on this team can be huge for him. And he kind of just contributes in all categories. So I think he's great that late in the draft for sure. Speaking of, you mentioned Patty Mills. I'm going to the Spurs. Dejounte Murray has an ADP in the fourth, right around the middle of the 4th round right now. Last season, he finished just outside the top 50, as a fantasy player. He's a great contributor to steals and assists, and then a great rebounder for the guard position. So if you're grabbing him in the 4th, this is a chance to kind of dominate rebounds throughout the season. If you're looking to a center or a forward elsewhere in the first 3 rounds. He keeps you from kind of getting desperate at that position or with rebounds as well because he's a good rebounder for the guard position. And then I can go grab someone who's efficient at 3 or from the field later on. Those are easy categories to find later on. So I really like Dejounte Murray. Again, with DeMar DeRozan leaving San Antonio, that opens up more opportunity for points, which he was already okay with from the points category. So I think he's a great guy you can grab in the 4th round because he's going to be handling the ball and he's going to be the main scorer for San Antonio this year.
Yeah, Pop's not going to let any of those guys rest. No. He's going to be getting his games when he's healthy. Yeah,
that's key for sure. Like you mentioned with Joe Harris, I think that's key too.
So another guy who's another guard, roughly same ADP, taking Lonzo Ball. His ADP is 51.5, which is about the 4th or 5th round. Right now, he's being the 18th point guard taken off the board on average. I just think the Bulls rotation this year is so good. All those guys are going to probably do a bit better than they have done in previous years just because I just like that lineup so much. They're definitely going to be a playoff team this year. I don't know if that's too much of a hot take, but they're going to get in past the play-in round. Probably going to finish ahead of a team like the Knicks, who was a bit too hot last year, but I really like them this year.
I find like Lonzo for me is like a tough player to judge in terms of where he kind of stacks up with those guys. at the position.
I get that, but I think just from the last couple of years, you've seen him take big steps up in his shooting. So I wrote it down. I checked it. 2 years ago, he had an average 3-point per game of 1.6. Now, from last year, he's at 3.1. So he's doubled his 3 points per game over the last couple of years. And he's out of New Orleans. He's still pretty young. He's only 24, fifth year in the league. I could just see him just kind of coming up, maybe getting closer to 3.5 threes per game, getting a little bit more points, maybe a stat line of like 18, 7, and 7. I don't see guys like DeRozan or Williams, grabbing that many boards. I see him laying the ball off to Levine a lot. He's going to get assists.
Going to say that, yeah.
So he just seems like he can get a lot of he can get stats like, he can get all 5 cats really, just a little bit of each. Just guys around his ADP too, just of note, Kristaps Porzingis, Robert Williams, Michael Bridges, Jonas Valanciunas. Those guys are some of them are a bit more of a risk. You don't know how well they're going to do, if they're going to have the same roles last year. I think a guy like Lonzo Ball is going to exceed his roles last year, and he's just going to be a really safe pick in the 4th or 5th round.
Yeah, those guys you mentioned are more like we're getting desperate with our bigs.
Yeah.
If you're taking the guys that aren't Lonzo at that spot. Like I like Bridges, but Valanciunas and you mentioned Porzingis or
Robert Williams.
Yeah, and Robert Williams
just
especially.
Guys
too.
who you don't even know if they're going to start every game.
Yeah. So speaking of bigs, I'm going with Isaiah Stewart of the Pistons. He's going right now right around the early 8th round. The front court for them was really clogged up last year with him as a rookie. He didn't really get a lot of opportunity. But then later at the end of the season, he actually played really, really well. Last 15 games, he averaged 12 points, 9.3 rebounds, 2.1 blocks per game. And honestly, he was at, I think, 1,400 or so minutes last year. So if he gets up to like 1,900, 2,000 minutes, then we're looking at a guy who could be one of the leaders in the blocking category, which is I really like for him at an ADP in the 8th round because it can be difficult to find those type of guys. Dominant shot blocker that I could get in the middle rounds. And like I mentioned, I think he's going to see more minutes this year because he is going to be the starter of the season. So I really like him. I know Pistons aren't an exciting team to get behind in terms of success this year, but I think he's going to have a lot of opportunity. And he looked really good to finish the year because I think he had, in those last 15 games, I think he had 4 double-doubles as well. I think one of them was like a 19 rebound game. I think it was against the Cavs or something, but I'm good with grabbing a couple guys or attacking the Pistons that won't play a lot of defense, but I think Stewart will have a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, I think just historically too, the Pistons always seem like a team that builds through defense or builds through their bigs. They had a guy like Andre Drummond get so many runs, even though he wasn't the greatest player, but they just looked at him as a guy they wanted to build through. If they just kind of say, you know what, we're going to try to maybe circle our offense around him a bit more, he could just be getting so many opportunities.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think if he gets to 2,000 minutes, then I'm thinking like per game from last year that he was as a starter, he could be leading in blocks at the end of the year. So I like Stewart. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel for more fantasy basketball content. We'll have a ton this week leading up to the season. Drop a comment below if you have any questions or want to chat about anything. And then check out our partners over at Manscaped as well. And as well, our fantasy basketball contest just went live, right?
Yeah.
Today is Tuesday, so it's out now. Go check it out, our fantasy basketball contest over on OwnersBox. We do have a free entry. NBA 10 is a free entry into the $10 contest for next Tuesday, so we got a week of runway. Go check it out. Go sign up on OwnersBox. We're going to get $25 as well for free just for depositing too. So thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.